Aram Manukian, born Sargis Hovhannisyan, March 19, 1879 to January 29, 1919, is widely remembered as the father of the First Republic of Armenia, a revolutionary statesman and community organizer whose leadership during one of the most turbulent periods in Armenian history ensured the very survival of the Armenian nation. His name carries a symbolic weight in Armenian political and cultural identity, representing sacrifice, unity, and the vision of an independent homeland. Early life and education. Aram Manukian was born in Zava village in the Syanik province, then part of the Russian Empire. He came from a humble Armenian family of farmers. From a young age, he was exposed to both the challenges of Armenian life under imperial rule and the currents of political awakening sweeping through the Caucasus in the late 19th century. He pursued his studies at the Gegashan village school, later moving to Shusha, in Nagorno-Karabakh, and eventually to Yerevan. During these formative years, Manukian encountered the works of Armenian intellectuals who promoted national liberation, cultural revival, and resistance to assimilation policies. By the time he reached his early 20s, he had already joined the Armenian Revolutionary Federation, ARF, Dashniksudian, the most influential Armenian political movement of the era. His charisma, organizational skills, and dedication to the Armenian cause quickly elevated him into positions of responsibility. Revolutionary activity and Aram of Van. At the dawn of the 20th century, the Armenian national question was increasingly urgent. Armenians in the Ottoman Empire faced repression, massacres, and forced assimilation, while those in the Russian Empire lived under Russification policies. Against this backdrop, Manukian began his career as an activist and revolutionary. He traveled extensively across Armenian-populated regions, working as a teacher and political organizer. His ability to mobilize communities, deliver fiery speeches, and inspire collective action earned him recognition among both peasants and intellectuals. By 1910, Manukian was dispatched by the ARF to Van, one of the major centers of Armenian life in Western Armenia, Ottoman Empire. Here, he became deeply embedded in the community, forging strong relationships with local leaders and preparing the population for the turbulent years ahead. His work in Van would soon cement his reputation as a heroic figure. The Van Resistance of 1915. The outbreak of World War I had catastrophic consequences for Armenians. With the Ottoman Empire entering the war, the Young Turk government launched the Armenian Genocide in 1915, targeting the Armenian population through mass deportations, massacres, and starvation. In April 1915, as Ottoman forces began deportations and killings in Van, the local Armenian population, encouraged and organized by Aram Manukian, rose in self-defense. Under his leadership, around 20,000 Armenians resisted Ottoman forces for nearly a month, barricading neighborhoods, setting up militias, and ensuring food and medical aid for the civilians trapped inside. Though heavily outnumbered, the defenders of Van managed to hold out until Russian troops advanced into the city in May 1915, forcing the Ottomans to withdraw. This victory, known as the Defense of Van, saved tens of thousands of lives and became one of the few success stories of Armenian resistance during the genocide. For his role, Aram became known as Aram of Van, a legendary leader and symbol of survival. Governor of Van and humanitarian efforts. After the Russian army took control of Van, Manukian was appointed as the civil governor. His governance was marked by extraordinary challenges. Refugee crisis. Tens of thousands of Armenians poured into Van seeking safety. Manukian established soup kitchens, refugee camps, and schools. Medical relief. Epidemics threatened the weakened population. He organized doctors and aid distribution. Justice and order. In a city devastated by war, he maintained law and order, preventing revenge killings and chaos. However, when Russian forces later retreated in July 1915, Manukian faced the harrowing task of organizing the mass exodus of Armenians from Van into eastern Armenia. Thousands perished during this migration, but his logistical leadership enabled many to survive. This humanitarian aspect of his work, less often celebrated but equally crucial, cemented his reputation not only as a revolutionary but also as a compassionate protector of his people. Role after the Russian Revolution, 1917–1918. The collapse of the Russian Empire in 1917 created a dangerous vacuum in the South Caucasus. Armenian territories, left unprotected, faced renewed Ottoman aggression. The Armenian National Council in Tbilisi sent Aram Manukian to Yerevan to serve as the head of civil administration. In effect, he became the de facto governor of eastern Armenia at a time when the region was besieged by war, famine, and refugees. His most critical contribution came in spring 1918, when Ottoman armies launched a major invasion aimed at eradicating what remained of the Armenian population. Manukian mobilized every available resource to organize the defense. He unified fragmented Armenian military units under central command. He inspired volunteers from villages and towns, reminding them that our survival as a nation depends on this battle. He coordinated supply lines, food distribution, and communication networks. The Battle of Sardarabad, May 1918. The climax of Manukian's leadership came at the Battle of Sardarabad, May 21–29, 1918. Facing a massive Turkish army advancing toward Yerevan, the Armenians were on the brink of annihilation. If Sardarabad fell, Armenian statehood and perhaps the Armenian people themselves would have ceased to exist. Thanks to the heroic resistance of Armenian forces and the morale-building leadership of Manukian, the battle ended in an Armenian victory. Together with victories at Bash Abaran and Gerakalais, it ensured the survival of the Armenian nation and paved the way for the establishment of the First Republic of Armenia on May 28, 1918. Without Aram Manukian's ability to inspire unity and resistance, modern Armenia might never have been born. Minister of Internal Affairs, 1918–1919. On June 30, 1918, Manukian was appointed as the first Minister of Internal Affairs of the newly established republic. His portfolio included law enforcement, establishing a functioning police force and judicial system, refugee integration. Armenia was flooded with 300,000+ refugees from the genocide, almost doubling its population. Manukian oversaw housing, food distribution, and land allocation. Health crises. Epidemics of typhus and cholera swept the country. He worked to create quarantine zones and medical services. Political stability. In a fragile, war-torn state, he promoted unity among various Armenian political factions. His vision was pragmatic. He emphasized self-reliance, discipline, and unity, qualities he believed were essential for the survival of a small, besieged republic. Personal life and tragic death. Amid these monumental responsibilities, Manukian also had a family. In 1917, he married Katerine Zalian, a prominent physician and activist. The couple had a daughter, Seda, born in 1918. But tragedy soon struck. While working tirelessly among war refugees, Manukian contracted typhus. On January 29, 1919, at just 39 years old, he died in Yerevan. His funeral turned into a national day of mourning, attended by tens of thousands. The Armenian people grieved the loss of the man they regarded as the true father of their fledgling republic. Soviet silence and post-independence revival. After Armenia was Sovietized in 1920, the memory of Aram Manukian was suppressed. Soviet historiography avoided celebrating figures linked to the First Republic or the ARF, portraying them instead as bourgeois nationalists. His name was erased from textbooks, and his legacy faded from public view for decades. However, after Armenia regained independence in 1991, his memory was revived. Streets, schools, and institutions were renamed in his honor. Historians began publishing detailed works about his role, and his image was rehabilitated as a national hero. Memorials and honors. Aram Street in central Yerevan was restored to his name after independence. In 2018, a statue of Aram Manukian was unveiled on Republic Square in Yerevan, marking the centennial of the First Republic. The Sardarapot Memorial Complex honors his leadership in the decisive battles of 1918. His bust is displayed at the ARF Youth Center in Yerevan, and various diaspora communities celebrate him annually. Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, at the unveiling of his statue, described him as the greatest apostle of modern Armenian history, whose name embodies the spirit of survival and independence. Legacy. Aram Manukian is more than a historical figure. He is a symbol of resilience, courage, and nation-building. His legacy includes: as a revolutionary, organizer of Armenian self-defense and advocate for independence; as a humanitarian, protector of refugees and communities in crisis. As a statesman, the founding figure of Armenia's first modern government. As a national symbol, remembered today as the father of the First Republic, in every retelling of Armenia's modern history, his name stands at the intersection of tragedy and triumph, proof that determined leadership can change the fate of a nation. The story of Aram Manukian is not simply the biography of one man. It is the story of an entire people's struggle for survival and sovereignty. His leadership during the darkest years of the Armenian nation, from the genocide of 1915 to the battles of 1918, demonstrates how vision and determination can give birth to a state against impossible odds. Today, his memory serves as an inspiration not only to Armenians but to all nations fighting for self-determination and dignity. The First Republic of Armenia may have lasted only 2 years, 1918 to 1920, but it laid the foundation for the modern Armenian state, and its father was Aram Manukian. Thanks everyone for watching. Please consider subscribing to the channel and see you soon.